Hello, thank you to you who clicked play. We are here today to talk about Autism Acceptance Month, and I'm so thrilled to have Justin with Autism Action Partnership with us. Thank you for joining me.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, can you tell me a little bit about the work of Autism Action Partnership?
Yes, so Autism Action Partnership is we're a 501c3 nonprofit here in our headquarters in Omaha. We serve this entire state of Nebraska in a variety of ways. Obviously our biggest footprint here is in Omaha, and so for the last 15 years we've done a number of things, kind of direct with the autism community, and more so as of late, the last few years, we've been expanding our work with kind of the non-autism community, the general public, from police, first responders to businesses and other folks that serve the general population, in kind of an effort to really expand acceptance, inclusion, and those kind of concepts. So we try to do, you got your primary sources of services for families are really kind of healthcare for autism, then there's the education system, and then everything else in life in between we try to touch on or to advance in some way.
It's that partnership, right?
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned the word acceptance. It is Autism Acceptance Month. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So I think the more important piece April is Autism Acceptance Month, and so for a number of years it's been Autism Awareness Month, and within the last 2-3 years there's been an effort globally to really advance the branding and the naming to Autism Acceptance Month, with the focus really being on that autism awareness is adequate, and that's not what any of us are. That's not the goal for what we're trying to do, and really that focus is on acceptance and about understanding and kind of inclusion, more so than just being like, oh yeah, that thing over there, I know what that means, but more that this is part of the community and part of who we are as a community.
Now, speaking to that and your hope for Omaha's future, what are you hoping to see happen in our community, in the autism community here locally too?
Kind of as I mentioned with some of our work, or really I've been saying a lot lately, and it seems to be truer and truer every day, is that we're not going to achieve our mission of our organization if we only serve the autism community. We have to, the families we serve, the individuals we serve, are navigating everything else that you and I navigate in our community every day, and have additional barriers and need additional supports and grace and respect as they do so. And so our organization is really focused on trying to help anyone in the community figure out what they're doing, how they can do it differently, better, in a way to be more accommodating and welcoming to the autism community, to, again, kind of allow for opportunities for kind of basic need type pieces, but also as well as enrichment, going to the movies, going to events, going into a physical building that may or may not be triggering to them or their loved one. Those types of things, that what we experience honestly is that a lot of folks want to know more. They aren't aware that how they are navigating things, we reference neurotypical as opposed to neurodiverse. So neurotypical folks, not knowing that what they do might be actually disruptive to a neurodiverse person. And so once we begin to figure out, once the awareness happens, then there becomes the acceptance and inclusion for how they can change their behaviors or their surroundings to be more welcoming. And I'll also add, which I think is very critical when we talk about this, is that overwhelmingly, if not completely, everything that we're working with individuals on, the police, physical space, programming, all those types of things, almost always it is changing of behaviors that is more welcoming for everyone. It is not a do this for the autism community, and then the next person that walks in who doesn't have autism is going to be like, what did you do here? Why did you change this thing? It really is. One example I regularly use is fluorescent lights. Like, no one's like, oh man, I wish this room had fluorescent lights. Like, this lighting is too soft and comfortable. Fluorescent lights can cause discomfort and up to actually cause an individual extreme discomfort with autism, based on the kind of the flickering of the lights that sometimes they can actually pick up on and perceive. And so in our office, we have all the lights covered. Some places have dimming lights. So depending on what you have, the covers on our lights here, I think it's like $8 or $12 per cover, and it's magnetized, and we just put them up. It takes 2 minutes,
Easy.
low cost, takes no time. And everybody that walks into our office, whether they have autism or not, or know anything about our organization or not, recognizes those within the first few minutes that they're here, and compliments the fact that it makes it a less of like a static kind of typical office environment.
You definitely speak to the need for a whole community effort for inclusion. Now, for those that are listening and watching, what can we do? How can we be a part of what you're doing?
Yeah. So first, I think becoming a little bit better versed in what autism is and what it isn't. So it's autism spectrum disorder, ASD. The reason the word spectrum is used is because there is such a wide variety of symptoms, of experiences, of impact of autism. And so one of the well-known sayings in the world of autism is, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. So it's not like, oh, I know what autism is because I have a nephew with autism. You have a better understanding of some of what autism is because of that lived experience. But you can meet another person with autism who has a completely different experience. And same with, so there's a kind of the double-edged sword of the TV shows that you see around autism, which are wonderful and help individuals in messaging and understanding it out. Most of those are we'll call them higher functioning or savants or something around that idea. And so you're like, oh, your child has autism. Oh, are they going to be a doctor? Or, are they, really, really smart? Well, yes. The answer could be yes. The answer could be no. They're going to need care for the rest of their lives, like 24/7 care for the rest of their lives. And every day is a hardship and a barrier. And again, that spectrum runs anywhere between, it could be a few days or a few years, or if transition time is a barrier, or it could be they are more like the folks you see on TV. So some of that awareness is really valuable to us and to those that we serve. The CDC just came out with a new report that 1 in 36 children is being diagnosed right now with autism. That is a continued increase every single time these reports come out. The percentage gets higher and higher of children who are being diagnosed with autism. So that's 1 in 36 is nearly close in on 3%. Okay, so that is the child in this case that's being diagnosed. That child has parents, has siblings, has a bigger network. Every one of their lives is now changed as a result of this. And to be clear, change doesn't mean worsened. Right? This could just be, okay, this is the path we're gonna move in this direction now. And so, okay, now you've got coworkers of those parents, right? And so they now understand, or friends, and all this. There's the network of people who are impacted by autism. So when we talk about that 1 in 36 and nearly 3% of children now, that's so far further compounded by the number of people whose lives are now changed as a result. So the work that we do, having police officers understand, one thing when we do training with police is, if you can do, when you walk into a situation and you're trying to assess quickly, if you can just have could this be autism? If that is just one of the check boxes you go through, then our training has been successful, and we're just kind of trying to create this opportunity for the general public to just consider what autism is or what it could be. And then again, to your question of what people can do is, one, show grace. What we hear a lot from families is, my child doesn't physically appear to have a disability or a special need. So when they're having a moment at a baseball game, or balloon pops and they're triggered and they have we're getting judged, we're getting looked at. People are saying, if that was my kid, they'd be over my knee right now, or what's wrong with this parent letting their kid behave that way? They don't have a sign that says we have special needs. So for the greater community, understanding that maybe you don't know the full story, and that everyone in that moment is trying their best, and just some grace and some understanding at that moment to say, it's okay. Is there anything we can do? Otherwise, we're just going to kind of move. Is there anything we can help with? But not just to sit and stare, or certainly not to judge. That's very helpful. We have one of our components of that inclusion work that we do is training for employers to try to help with employment opportunities. With the disability of autism, there are significant abilities within that: high attention to detail, ability to repetitive tasks at a high skill level, low errors, great retention rates for employment. But with autism, it's a social communication impairment. So the varying degree of it, but really what it means is your interaction with that person is going to be different than most other people you interact with. Sometimes that's perceived by the neurotypical person as disrespectful or weird or off-putting, and then that person is there kind of like they're not invited to the thing. Whether it's at school, kids get bullied, or at work, they just get ignored or not included into some of the social components of work. And so those are a lot of what we do with our training. And so with our focus areas of training is really trying to say, what do you know about autism? We'll add to that. And then how can you behave differently? And then we talk about becoming an autism ally. And so once you have some information, the ability to just impart that on somebody next to you, or in a moment when you're with a group of people and you see someone who might have autism or is wearing like noise canceling headphones at a coffee shop, maybe that's an opportunity to kind of educate the person next to you a little bit about that, because there's like a misunderstanding and a misperception that we're trying to that we try to change every day with our work, and really again kind of that focus on abilities. There are some disabilities, there are varying degrees of disability with autism, but there's significant ability, and there's whether or not the person can emote in a way that we understand. There is a significant amount of emotion happening on there, and there's love, and there's laughter and attention, and there's fear, and those things like that are all happening. But sometimes there's a flat affect, and people don't. You're right. The what you see on the face, the smile, the active listening things, you're not necessarily getting that. And so all of us are, you have an experience and you immediately go to, oh, okay, I've been here before. I know what this is. So if we can just add, is it autism in there and say, oh, maybe I'm misunderstanding, maybe I'm misreading this moment. It's a better outcome. It's a more welcoming conversation. And everyone, I guess I would argue that everyone is better when you approach it from that perspective.
Thank you for that reminder and that place for us each to start for Autism Acceptance Month.
Mm-hmm.
Give people a few tools. If they pop over to shareomaha.org, search for Autism Action Partnership, you can learn more about their work, jump over to their website, dive more into those learning tools. You also, of course, let me scroll back up, you can give a gift to support the mission of Autism Action Partnership. You also can shop their wish list, learn more about hosting a sensory item drive, and there's the event coming up on April 19th.